Better this time. Last time we was like talking. All right, we are live. So give us a few moments to get checked in. All right. Make sure my volume is up there. Hello, everyone. This is your girl, LaShondra, a.k.a. Firey Phoenix. And I want to welcome you to PrymeCast, the podcast where we just have a good conversation about life, things, creativity, fun. Today, we are honored to have my dear guest friend, Symphony Swan.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
So first, I want you, before we go into our actual content questions, I want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what drives you.
All right, y'all. So I am Symphony. That's my legal, but my alter ego is Puma Lagos. And so she is a very complicated, beautiful soul. She is a visual artist. I'm talking about myself in the third person. I am a visual artist. I do a lot of work with portraits and painting women and telling the story that we sometimes don't want people to know in my art. I am also a mother of 2 beautiful Black children, and professionally, I am an educator. So I work with young people in the city of Milwaukee. I am also, I'm going to add this too because I am manifesting its return, one of the co-owners and founders of Blank Space Milwaukee, which is a local collective of artists coming together to make space for ourselves, to grow ourselves, and promote ourselves. Yes.
For sure. So I really love the work that you guys have been doing with Blank Space. I have not had a chance to really experience it. And I do know you guys also have a Black Restaurant Week coming up as well. Plug that.
Yes. So, look, I should know the date of this. But with the way my life is set up, it is coming up in April. And I'm super excited. This is our 5th year of Milwaukee Black Restaurant Week. Yes. So this kind of is our baby child. This is one that just kind of came from an idea and manifested to something much larger than we could have ever anticipated. Let me pull up that information. I really should know this.
No worries.
But it is our chance as a city to support Black-owned restaurants. And we come out every year in numbers, which is awesome. And so we're going to continue to do this until we can't do it no more. So it is April 12th through the 18th. So flyers and stuff are out there. If you have a favorite Black restaurant, please comment in the video so that we can get those guys on the list. We have a list, but we want to make sure that we are not missing out on those hidden gems. So please let us know so that we can put them on for the week.
Wonderful. So everyone participate, engage. Yes. It's so important that we drive the economy in the Black community for ourselves. So really proud of you guys doing that kind of work. It's important to me as a small business owner as well. Pryme Solutions is available for all of your facilitation needs.
You better plug yourself.
But yes, so I want to get into the topic because as I was sitting here, I've been very free flow with these. And so I was like, what do I want to talk about? I got Symphony. So
where do I start?
Right. So I flipped into my notebook and I found some work that I've done. You see the date in 2017. Wow. Okay. And this was me talking to myself, right? So Tolic Wisdom from Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The 4 Agreements, is where this is rooted from. Okay. And so I'm just going to say them out loud for those listening and not watching and that don't know them. But the 4 agreements are, number 1, be impeccable with your word. Number 2, don't take anything personal. Number 3, don't make assumptions. And number 4, always do your best, right? So when I was reading the series of books that Don Miguel Ruiz put out on this wisdom, there's a section of the book that talks about the stories we tell ourselves. So have you read the books already?
I have. It's been a while, but I have.
So the stories that you tell ourselves that whole theme around what I've always believed I am. In 2017, I was dismantling what I believed I was.
2016 for me.
Okay. So, it's 2016, I was too numb, too raw, too unavailable to do the unpacking work. 17 is when I dived into it.
Okay.
So I think we had mirror years, and it's like, who am I in the world? I don't know. And
but I go through that evolution, though, like every year. Like, I feel like my birthday time is when I'm always like, okay, who am I now? Because I'm not the same person I was at the beginning of this rotation.
We're going to save for another podcast when we talk about when I went and got my reading, because I'm another person again in the 2020. And it is almost on par with birthdays for me as well. So this conversation was really with myself. And so there were some questions I wrote down while I was musing on some things I could write. And the theme of it was like writing your own story. So the questions are, I'm going to read them, and I'm going to allow this to just be a flowing conversation so you don't have to answer them in order. How do I see myself? What do I believe about myself? And how does my story begin? But what are my story edits? And who gets to publish my story? So these were the thematic questions that I was asking myself in 2017 in June about who am I? Like, what am I supposed to be? What are these things that I've always believed I was as a child? And who gets to change the story now? And, that was kind of a no-brainer. I get to change the story.
This is like everything I thought of when I created Melanated Mama.
Look at that. And I didn't do this on purpose. I was just planning to have a conversation.
Like, I remember different parts of my life when I pondered on all of those.
So let's do this. Why don't you walk through the path, but somehow highlight the answers to those questions in how you started Melanated Mama?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so
first of all, tell people what Melanated Mama is.
Melanated Mama is a physical and digital platform for mothers, myself, to showcase the trueness of what it means to be raising carefree Black children. So I try as best as possible to be as vulnerable and to share the sides of motherhood that most try to put under the rug. And so, blogs are a thing, vlogs are a thing. And when I was a new mother to Marley, I feel like all the blogs showcase like the pretty side. And I couldn't understand like who's talking about the baby blues in postpartum, because I had it. Like, breastfeeding looks beautiful, but my nipples hurt. Like, help me understand this process. And then, growing up with a toddler, tantrums and baby daddy co-parenting situationships, like, there was nobody that I could find that was really being honest about that. And so that's kind of like, and really, Melanated Mama started off as just Facebook statuses of me either venting or sharing best practices that I found along the way. And then you get inboxes like, girl, me too, or try this. And then it just became like, let me just share more, because obviously I'm not the only one. So, yeah.
So I feel that deeply because I think I have the same energy around parenting in general. And I think a lot of who we think we are started so much sooner than that. So, like, by you forming Melanated Mama as a practice that you're doing in the digital space in the world, it started further back with who we thought we were as children. So, although Melanated Mama is the now, the what's going on now, what was the little girl thing in that what I told myself I was? What messages?
So I did not grow up in a household with parents who were married or together, for that fact. So I was raised by strong women, my big mom and my mama. And so growing up, I wanted to break all the curses that they always talked about. So my mom she broke the curse of going to college. So then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to meet you or beat you. And so she would always say, you ain't nothing until not nothing, but beat me. Like, I got my master's. Okay, do that. So I'm like, all right, bet. Like, I can do that. And so I wanted to be, like, I wanted this dream. I wanted a husband and, the marriage and all of that, and didn't get it. And so I think that's the start of Melanated Mama, because that was the expectation that I put on myself. And then when it didn't happen, it was actually far left from that. I was so hard on myself and embarrassed, and not so much embarrassed with Marley, but definitely with King, because it was like I was so public about my crazy co-parenting relationship that it was like, oh, damn, so then you go and get pregnant again?
Oh, the world.
And so I was just like, it was just heavy. It was so heavy. But my greatest breakthrough came with Kingston, though. So it was like, that was what I needed to finally put the headstone on that situation. And so, but yeah, that was the beginning, I think, of like that little girl of like wanting to have that fairy tale ending, this fairy tale of love, because I never really saw it. And then now, even in hindsight, being engaged, love ain't no fairy tale. And so, yeah,
that's real. And I mirror a very similar, and I think a lot of us mirror that experience. Yeah, there was an era of parent separation that I would say was after the boomer generation, where the world said it was okay to get a divorce. Like in the boomer generation, it was like, stay through all of this stuff, but in this Generation X, the season where the Generation X children were born, so I'm late Generation Xer, we had parents that it was now okay to get a divorce, or the side of the coin that many of us saw, there was no real marriage in the situation. And it was a very unhealthy, very toxic, inappropriate relationship, wasn't balanced. And there was this whole wrapped up in I can do it by myself energy that...
Well, sometimes you had to, right?
I mean, what choice did we have? But then we became proud of it. And I remember that era. Like, my mother worked a lot. And so that meant that I was very good at taking care of household things for the kids, for the family, right? And swore I was not going to have the exact same experience. Like, nope, not even going to have no kids. I'm not doing this. I've been doing this babysitting thing my whole life. I'm over it. And then I ended up having children.
I never even dreamt of being a mom, I don't think.
I think they destroyed the myth of motherhood for me in society when I watched the pain my mother went through, but with a strong face. The challenges that she faced. I don't think I ever saw my mother cry as a child.
It wasn't until my mom's passing, when my sister and I were going through some of her documents, where I was like, whoa, like my mom was severely depressed, like diagnosed depressed. I never saw that, ever.
It's amazing how the parents that raised us, the generation of parents that raised us, were encouraged to never share any challenges with mental health. Like, it was not even a thing that existed. It was for you to pretend like everything was okay all the time. Yeah. And that was a disservice to our mothers. And then we get to this stage where, we have a choice. We decide, are we going to be the strong one? Are we not? And fortunately, society has elevated mental health as a priority. Whether they got the money to pay for it or not, that's another topic. But mental health has been prioritized, so now we can embrace I'm not okay when I'm not okay shows up.
And be unapologetic in that space.
Like, you were on the panel that you did, one of the things that really is important to recognize is you said, I don't want to be strong. And we've been always, like, taught to be strong because we're black women, and that was an endearing trait. But
that
in
you can
moments
endure
where
it, whatever, and still come out like, I'm tired.
And when do I get to sat down somewhere? Because that's really what I've been waiting on in energy-wise, and it's starting to show up. I'm grateful for, the self-care movement. I do think it needs to go a little bit further than some of the cosmetic things that we talk about.
The capitalism and...
Because
I'll tell you this, after I had Marley, I was depressed for like 2-3 years. And it really wasn't until I was pregnant with King where I kind of was able to pick my head up from the dirt. But that healing work was probably some of the toughest. It was the toughest thing I ever had to do because I had to look at myself in the mirror after I had built myself up to be this, whatever type of person. How do I see myself? Like, this artist, this, amazing community advocate, whatever. But I didn't see any of that in myself. Right. And I had to heal from that because I was like, why wouldn't he want to be a family with me? Do you know who I am? Like, I'm this dope chick. Like, what are you are missing out. Yeah. And I had to really challenge myself on that to figure out, like, where I needed to work on. Because I wasn't perfect, but, yeah.
I really feel like the shift for me was when I gave myself permission to radically love myself.
What did that look like for you?
Oh, man. So I had several periods where it was about, I thought I listened to God and things didn't go the way I thought they were going to be. And God's love was the only love I was after, right? And that would fail me. Okay. Now, in a church, they're going to tell you God's love will never fail you. Well, I can speak to specific instances where I prayed and waited and did what I thought I was supposed to do, and it didn't work. And so from my experience of failure, failure is what taught me to reconstruct myself. Yep. Because what I thought I wasn't. Yep. And then it was like, well, who am I? And so the whole time I've been in a relationship where I was changing. Yeah. He was, but I couldn't even see it. Because I was so busy changing, trying to figure out who I was.
And for me, because I had so much negative internal conversations with myself or about myself, for me, it started off on Facebook again. Every morning I would post a positive quote and an outfit of the day. Because I was like, let me be intentional about my outwardly. Even though I felt like crap in the inside, let me put together a bomb outfit, a beat face, and a positive quote. And I was just going to be intentional about that quote all day. And so every day I was doing that. And I didn't even realize I was doing that until Leanne, inboxed me like, where's your quote for today?
She watching too. Hey, Leanne.
Hey, Leanne. Or she was like, you did a lot of work manifesting this positive energy. And really, I didn't even connect the two until she brought that up to me. But it was intentional about, like, getting up. Because I felt horrible. I felt unattractive. I didn't feel beautiful. And it was all because of, like, this relationship I had, or lack of relationship I had with my kid's dad. And so it was like, I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to put some heels on every day. And that helped me see myself again.
That's it. And that was part of my radical movement as well. Yeah. I think it was also this, like, constantly forgiving myself. Yep. Because, so, like, when going back to the 4 agreements, always do your best. It was so reassuring to think about the fact that sometimes your best is a different level by the day.
Absolutely.
And so the best
today,
I can
my best
do,
is getting out of bed,
ma'am. And on that day, did I get out the bed? Okay, good job. You nailed it today, sister. Yep. You got up. Yep. So, like, recognizing the stages of do your best. Because when I first read always do your best, it got a hard, girl, bye. Sometimes you're going to get what you get. But then I processed it. And it was more a mentality of your best is what you can deliver. And not every day can you deliver the same thing. But today you did the best you could with what you were handed. And that's what has worked so well for me in this radical self-love.
But then even taking that number 2 about, like, not taking yourself, like, personally. Like, for me, I struggle with setting the bar, and then I'm steadfast on that, getting to that bar. Right. And I miss the beautiful moments that allow me to, like, deviate to even something better. You know what I mean? So many missed opportunities because I was like, no, I need to go from A to B. Now realizing that C is probably where I needed to be anyway. You know what I mean? So,
and that's wrapped in that stories we tell ourselves that were handed down to us. Yeah. Because it's the same discipline problem of, you do one, I do another that you had with your mother. That carries into every way that we judge ourselves. So, like, now it's like, okay, so I did this, what's next? Got to do this. Got to do this. Sometimes what you're doing is this.
And, you know, I was just having this conversation with my fiance, but I was just like, for so long before he got in the picture, I busted my butt because I needed to make sure I could provide a lifestyle for my kids. So I'm chasing after this career. I'm chasing after the money. I love what I do, but the reality was like daycare, food, all of that was coming out of one income, you know? And so I needed to secure the bag.
Fact.
But was I always happy was the question that I keep going back to, especially now with my mom not being here. It's like I got to prioritize my family.
And see, and that brings back, we had a panel discussion we were on. There's a difference to me between happiness and joy.
Yeah.
And I think that,
keep going, and
that like I personally have periods where I'm not happy, but joy is a manifestation of what is in my spirit. So I can always drum something up, even if it's as simple as, you know, the face beat, the cute hairdo, a little wrap, cute little shoe, whatever the thing is. That is a manifestation of joy for me in a small dose.
And I feel stuck. Right there. I made a post today because I was like, I got to remember, because in the panel, you were like, you got to remember, you are joy. I'm in this space where, like, if I could describe, like, a scary movie where I just feel like everything around me is in slow motion. And I'm just really trying to, like, figure out what's happening. And nothing is bringing me joy. Like, I feel like I'm just existing. I'm not really living. I'm like, I'm about to start crying up in here.
Or you are free to go. Take a pause.
Just really trying to reevaluate the life that I knew with my mom being here, and that not being the like my foundation. And I feel like it was taken from me.
For real.
And so I'm trying to I got this beautiful house, but your foundation ain't, you know, and it's probably still there, and I just have to work through all of this, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I love you so much. I love you so much. So I'm not going to hug you because I make it work. I know the game.
You know, I just got to.
But I do want to say to you.
Pull it together.
So I think you had posted about this one time, and I said something to you about ancestor work.
Yeah.
And I think that at the core of what it is that you're dealing with right now and the stage that you're in, the ancestor work that you need to do very intentionally is buried ancestor work. Like this separation you feel is the same separation that I often feel around my destiny. Like, am I going the right direction?
Yeah, that too.
It's all wrapped into the same thing. And, you know, when I did my reading, and I was going to do a whole nother post about another podcast about my reading, but I think it's relevant to this. So when I went to New Orleans to get a reading, I got that reading because I wanted to have this understanding of, am I on the right path? It was self-doubt. I didn't see it that way on the way. When I got there, the first thing that was said to me is, why are you here? Almost with this urgency, like he was angry with me for time wasted. And I just kept feeling like, well, what did I do? Why are you acting like it's bad that I'm here? I came because I'm on a journey, and this is part of my path, and that's how I felt. But he said, you have everything. It's all on you, around you. When you walked in here, you had it already. And this was the clincher for me. He said to me, I can't even sell you anything else because it would be stealing from your spirit.
Wow.
That was jarring for me because then it was like, what is around me that is so dope I can't see?
Because that's how I feel. Oh, man, that's how I feel.
And so it's like that energy of like digging for it is rooted in conditioned practice. And that's what kept coming back in the conversation because I sat silent frequently in that reading because he's saying a thing and I'm saying another thing and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But the core that came out of it for me was, it is the discipline of returning to the practice of my ancestors on a regular basis that is missing.
Yeah, and it was interesting is because I was just talking and I was like, I haven't made a piece of art in 2 years.
Ma'am,
how important
where am I painting at? You had painted me.
I was like, that's so important to like who I am as a person. Like I haven't created anything in years. And so I keep looking at this question about what are your story edits? And if anyone has ever watched me in the studio or my process when making art, typically I start with a vision and I'm like, yep, that's what it's gonna be. And then you get to putting it on the canvas and you like, nope, the canvas got a different direction. And then, you know, if ever my work gets put in a museum one day, you will see that there are layers and layers of like me painting something, painting over it, painting something, gessoing over it again. And so it's like, I have to be comfortable in that space. And it's hard. Like, I know it exists. I know it's a thing. And usually when I am done with the piece is beautiful.
Yeah.
But you didn't see the ugly that went into like, oh, I hate this. Let me move this over and then we paint over this and try again.
That's the process.
Yes.
That is the process. And I think it's the exact same thing with the ancestor work that you need to do. It is unearthing ugly things. When you have to dig to get to your source, that means you're going to get dirty. That means you're going to pull up mud and roots and worms and maggots and whatever that is in the earth to get to your prize goal. Yeah. And I think, you know, my ancestor that I had to manage through this was my grandfather. He was the only father that I knew. And he said these really unique things to me as a child. He was one of the people that I remember things from him as young as 5.
Wow, okay.
And I remember my cousins used to make fun of me because I spoke very properly. And my grandfather would always say to everyone, leave her alone because that one's the one that's going to make statements. She's going to talk to the press. She's the one that they're going to come and get to say the narrative, right? I was like 5 years old remembering him defending my articulate nature. Like, I wanted to say the word all the way to the end because I wanted to get it right. I never called him Big Papa. That's what all the kids called him. I never did. I always called him grandfather, and they always said I was weird because I said the whole word. So I remember always listening to this. And growing up, he was a preacher. He was a minister. So this whole separation of what women can say and what men can say in faith communities, he always defied it with me. He always made sure that I had the wisdom and the knowledge that went with religion and with the Bible to make decisions for myself, despite the fact that there are very few religions that would allow me to be a leader.
Yeah.
Like, when he left me, I felt guilt for not spending enough time. I felt all these things that I had to dig through. And then one day, this piece about elders came to me. He used to always say, when we were kids, that he could talk to the trees. And if we were bad in school, when the wind blowed, that was him getting a message carried from the trees. And he said, if you're bad in school and I find out, I'm going to change into my Mandingo warrior garb, which in our brains was a loincloth and a spear. And as children, we were like, please, Granddaddy, please never come to school dressed as the Mandingo. But that was his threat. He was like, don't be bad, or I'm going to show up as a Mandingo warrior. And so I remember that, but then started having these connections with scriptures that talked about the elders being able to talk to trees. And now in my ancestor work, I have a lot of wood in my space on my altars. I have several altars now.
See, for me, it's dreams. It's always been dreams. Always.
Same. The dream struggle is real.
Yeah. And
I be looking up all day.
And lately, they've been very weird, but all of the symbols go back to, like, your purpose. Like, are you not doing what you need to be doing right now?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
The Shakes and I just had this conversation. Shout out to Power Forward Media. He'd be mad when I shout him out, but Power Forward Media makes this happen. And if you are interested in getting your story, your narrative out, Power Forward Media does this with excellence. So please reach out. But Shakes and I were talking about.
We go way back too.
Yeah,
though.
this is
like
that dude. This is that
like,
dude.
I'm talking about DJ Symphony in high school, like trying to figure out.
Oh, let me find out you was out here DJing in the high school.
I was.
Okay,
DJ
all right.
Symphony on the
Okay,
ones and twos.
so we have to bring that back. So like we were talking about manifesting these things, and we've got these talents, and you know he's very driven. I am very driven, but the things that are like, what is this idea that I can't get to move? I get in my head. Yep. So like I dive into my brain and think about all the things that I think I need to do in order to make this happen.
Same. Like I am so talented I DJ, I sew, I paint,
Ma'am.
all of this stuff.
I didn't even know the DJ. That's news.
Yeah, I don't really talk about it as much, but and this is like before the digital time too. So like this was right on the cusp of like carrying vinyls in and CDs. You hear me? So, but I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why this creative energy festers over me, and why I can look at a scarf and be like, yep, I can make that. Will it be 100% to pattern? Probably not, but it's gonna look cute.
Yeah.
And like, how can I, use that energy? And that's where I've been feeling stuck. And that's why I think we manifest in blank space. It's coming back.
That's good. That's good. And it's important that you start creating some of these spaces. And what we talked about often, Shakes and I, is consistency.
Yep.
So we talked about doing a podcast for over a year without doing it. And then it was just like, look, it's 2020. It's a whole nother year. We're not going to go into another year of not executing all these ideas that we had.
And sometimes it's fear, though.
It is absolutely fear at its root of failure. And so as the queen of public failure, who gonna top me? I shouldn't be afraid of failure anymore. At this point, I should be like, I got it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Howsoever, fear is a constant challenge because it is not really of the failure and honesty. That is just the mask it wears.
Yep.
It's the fear of our wildly successful ideas
actually coming
and being able to manage them once they've manifested, because we got this thing in common of, I just did this, now I've got to top it.
Yep.
So I'm always in my head, like, if this podcast, like, I'll use this, if this podcast jumps off and the world is like, oh my God, we got to see more of you. Now I'm like, how? What do I have to do different for that time? And that is more scary to me than it falling flat. You know why? Because I've experienced so many things not staying consistent, that it is a natural posture and it is comfortable to complain about what doesn't work. Because we all know how to complain. We all know how to point to everybody else that doesn't do something that we need done. And we will tell 7 people that we hate something, but won't tell one
person
what we love.
Or what we love, yep.
So, like, I wanted to get into, like, my mission this year is consistency. I can't do everything all at once, but I can keep showing up at the same time every week to do something. And instead of over planning, because like my over planning energy is serious, but I am not over planning these conversations. We are not over planning. We're just talking.
It goes into like publishing your own story.
Yes. So in a lot of ways, right now, I'm republishing the story that I want to be told. And, through the conversation with you specifically, giving other people additional license to republish their story, starting now. Like now, in the future, now, today, now, whenever now hits your heart.
Using these though, right?
For sure.
So like not making any assumptions, don't take stuff personal. And I mean like that's even with your thoughts though.
Yes, for sure.
Like my thinking process sometimes knocks me out before anybody else can. And that's where I'm like, let me take ownership of my story. It is what it is. Like
I really feel like that's the narrative around the 4 agreements is not extricable. You cannot separate the 2.
Right.
Well, the 4, I should say. 1 needs 2, needs 3, needs 4. And I think when I first started reading the book, I was so stuck on one of them at a time. So like I'd be like, today I'm gonna master 1. I'm gonna be impeccable with my word. I'm gonna go everywhere I said I was gonna go and do everything I said I was gonna do. And I did not recognize that all 3 needed to be functioning within. And being impeccable with my word, but not being productive might not necessarily be my goal. Those are all things that are mixed in all 4. And what I love about it is this story piece is wrapped into all 4 of those because you set the story for how impeccable you were with your word.
Yep.
You set the story, like even, like we start at noon. Noon is a time we set for ourselves. It don't mean nothing in the stratosphere of things, right? But you know, if you are unable to arrive at something on time, you're still being impeccable with your word when you say, hey, I'm running late.
Yeah.
In the beginning, in my head, it was like, oh, shoot, that was at noon. I failed. That's it. Mm-hmm. I'm not impeccable with my word, and I'm going home because I got to start over tomorrow. And I think that is the way that we can operate this kind of narrative, this kind of language, is to be able to say, this is what I said I was going to do, and I didn't do this, but look what I did do.
And for me, it helps because I feel like I have so much on my plate where I'm taking it 1 or 2 days at a time.
Right.
I'm not trying to think about 6 months from now, 3 weeks from now. It's like I need to get through these, next 2 days and then give myself a pat on the back for the accomplishments that I were able to meet in that time period. For sure. For me, that helps.
I mean, it's the little wins that you got to get to the big win and being able to track all of them in between. So, like, that's the key element of this success walk. Like, success is really measured by you. And we often give other people permission to determine whether or not we were successful.
And that's just one thing we have to work on, like everybody. I think there's a lyric, CeeLo Green says, if you ever want to learn about me, ask somebody else.
Man.
And I was like, okay, I get it. I don't want to rest in that, though.
Not at all. I think people say a lot of terrible things about me. I am convinced. They don't have to tell me to my face. I can feel it when people that have said bad things about me are around me and how they shuffle. You know what I'm saying? That uneasy, does she know what I said energy. And I've spent a lot of time, that's part of the stories we tell ourselves, embracing being a villain. That's wrapped up also in Black womanhood. Like, oh yeah, people don't like me, so what? I am who I am. I'm a shot of tequila. I'm not a cup of tea. Like all those things that we say.
I never heard that one, but.
Well, we always make it up some little clever thing to mask an insecurity about ourselves and then to bolster it up as confidence. And that's like a fake way to say I'm confident. Y'all don't like me, but whatever.
Or a way to not hold ourselves accountable. I mean, it could be that too.
And so, like, being able, so I got a coach. And my coach, be snatching me up. And the reason she's able to snatch me up is because she looks like me, but she has been in spaces that I haven't been. And so often she reminds me that it isn't because I look like that. Just by being. Not even words that she says. Like, a white coach could have never done this for me. A man coach could have never done this for me. But what she's done for me that I've loved is she's been able to, one of the sentences she says that I live for, I can't make that a problem for you. When I'm spiraling about unfairness, about racism, about how am I going to manage this issue, her sentence neutralized that energy on me in a way that only a Black woman could even use that sentence, first of all.
Right.
I can't make this a problem for you. And I paused, and I was just like, was I even asking you to make it a problem? Like, in my head, I didn't come for her. But in my head, I was like, I don't think I was asking. But then I laughed at myself because I was like, really? It isn't a problem for you is what you're saying. Like, this is a problem that exists for me, maybe. But I haven't made it a problem in my life. I've decided to just move myself to a different level of my experience of being this quote-unquote only one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think some of us, we revel in being the only Black girl somewhere, secretly. And we announce it everywhere. Yeah. I don't have anyone that looks like me at work. Everyone else looks like somebody else. And
I'm like, okay.
I'm surrounded by Black people, and I'm grateful, but I do have lots of white people around me. I have people that are of multiple ethnicities around me. And I don't rejoice in being in rooms that are all white. I know it's announced as like a beware, it's a problem that I'm facing every day. But that sentence deflates that every time she says to me, I can't make this one a problem for you. I love that sentence.
I got to process that.
I love that sentence. It took me time because, you know, I'm quick with it.
Yeah, because I'm like,
no,
I'm
they
in
got
my
me
head.
messed up. I got this to say and I got that to say. She was like, you know what, LaShondra? I can't make this a problem for you. And I shut it down, and I listened to myself, and I laughed. I laughed out loud. I was like, that's good, and I'm finna write that down. Because I'm going to use that in conversations with people that are in, you right, yes, it's racist as ever. But I can't make it a problem for you because, we see in our society that people can be racist and still keep jobs. So what's the answer? Tell me what new problems.
Are there any? They're all just recycled.
Recycled problems, new packages. And they're also, wrapped up in the don't take it personal. The things that trigger us are the things that we need to be working on in us. So we take it personal because we ain't done our work yet.
But that don't take it personal piece, in my role at least, I always say, I call it the Black Panther. Because I'm constantly getting hit from all sides. And I'm like, I'm just festering all of this energy. And then I have not lately had a way to release. And so it's just like in there, And then there are some days when I have to just be like, you know what? Mental health day.
Yep.
Because I need it.
And I take them as well. I must. I must. And sometimes they are as simple as doing nothing.
Oh, yeah.
To clear my head because I think constantly.
Yep.
And I wish I didn't.
I don't know how to turn that off.
I don't think it's possible to fully turn it off. I wish I could
dream about
manage it.
Work sometimes. And I'm like, yo, I just want to
go to bed.
Just go to bed.
Just go to bed. Same. So we are coming up on, I know that we need you to get going back to work shortly.
We got a little bit of time left.
And, we are really thankful for you jumping in quickly and responding to be one of our guests.
Yes.
Going forward, we are going to invite you back.
Please do.
Because
hopefully next time I'll have some work to share. Because I did the work of actually starting to clean out my studio. So that is a feat.
So now that you deserve applause for.
Yes.
Because in order to use it, you have to clean it out.
Oh, man. Because it has become a dumping ground of storage stuff. And so I've started to clear out space so I can make stuff.
Well, I look forward to your next gallery exhibit.
Oh, that's pressure. But okay.
I'm just saying, that's not pressure in real life. It's just when it happens, we ready.
It's going to be dope. I'm sure it's going to be dope.
And, we really just need to stay connected, stay grounded, keep doing these conversations. I invited Bridget. She said she would be down to come. So we'll probably do a whole one dedicated to blank space.
Yeah, we got some stories to tell about our journey. It was before its time, I think.
For sure. Our space, Shakes and I are mobile. So maybe we have it at blank space.
Yes.
Then that way we can just start showcasing some of the dope things you guys are doing on site. Yes?
Let's work on that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So we're going to close it out. It is Thursday. And before I go, I do just want to say to those listening on the podcast, please reach out if you are interested in sponsorships or supporting. Those options are available to you. You can email me at connect@absoluteprime.com. We welcome you to our network, and we hope that you continue to listen. This is podcast number 2.
Number 2?
Number 2.
Hey.
So
please support this black woman, y'all. Please.
Because she's going to be here all by herself talking if she has to.
I love it.
Because that's what we said we're going to do.
She made me cry, y'all. That's how real it got on here today. Because she just knows how to ask the right questions to get that conversation going.
This is the line journey. We were just, this was
I didn't realize we were so close.
I knew.
Okay.
I could. Kindred spirits are rare. Yeah. It's a handful of them.
Yeah.
But we're going to close out. So again, we thank you so much for listening. Visit my website, absoluteprime.com, and give us a ring, a message, a comment, and reach out in our inbox if you would like to share a topic you're interested in.
I was just going to say, send her people.
Please, people and topics. All right, that is it's a wrap.